What an ending. That was a great recap of yesterday for us. We're on the second day of our Bridging the Divide conference. Are you having a good time so far? Yes. We had our pulpit to politics. We kicked off this morning with pulpit to politics panel with some pastors and ministers from across the region here, and talk about the Black church and voting, and how it's so important for us to vote. And then we had, I think, the panel that's kind of set the bar for the day, which was my wife's panel, of course, Pastor Colette Porter, a seat at her table. A seat at her table. And wasn't that a wonderful panel, y'all? They set the bar, a winning panel, first time, and such great information right there. And we were so glad to have that. And now we are after lunch. I'm sorry, I have to apologize to my guests because we're right after lunch, which means that people got the itis. But we're glad we're here. But I'm so happy to have with us for the first time, I believe, a good personal friend of mine, and Clint Odom, who is the vice president of, let me get this right, of external.
Reverend, I don't care what you call me as long as you call me.
I'll say VP of T-Mobile, but I know it's a special department, external affairs, and he's reached out. He has, there have been a partner, there it is, Vice President for Strategic Alliances and External Affairs. Thank you, media team. That's why you have a good team, amen. And here he came all the way from Washington, D.C., and they are our title sponsors. I want you to put your hands together for my friend and our partner here, Clint Odom.
Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, since I will be flubbing it up, let me go ahead and just let you introduce yourself more properly and just tell us, give us a background. I know about T-Mobile, but I think the people need to know where you came from, your journey, and just share with them about yourself.
Sure. I'm Betty and Charles Odom's only son, only child. I grew up in southwestern Louisiana, mostly in the 70s, born in the 1960s, to parents who went to historically black colleges. I only mention that fact because when I went to college at the flagship school of Louisiana, Louisiana State University, my parents could not have gone to school there. And in fact, a few years ago, a letter was uncovered in the archives of Louisiana State University, and it was a letter exchange between the president of LSU and the president of the University of Texas. And the letter said, "We have done a pretty good job in keeping the Negroes out of LSU. We've been forced to take a few of them, but we've kept them in dorms to themselves, really separated from everybody else. And while I am chancellor of this school, they will never be allowed on the football team." This was a letter written in 1960, just a few years before I was born. And my parents both went to Grambling State University in the 50s, which was really the only opportunity for them. I tell you that story because education has really been the centerpiece of my life and my family's life. After graduating from Louisiana State University, I went to the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and then my first job after law school was back near home in Mississippi, in the capital of the state, Jackson. I got a chance to know the folks at the school there and know the community there, and I've had a very close tie to Jackson and Mississippi generally in those intervening years. I grew up CME. For those of you who might know CME, everybody knows AME, but don't forget their little brother, CME. And together, education and faith were really two of the most formative pieces in my life. I've done a lot of things that I'm not going to bore you with in my career, but the thing that got us together, and you may not even fully appreciate this, Reverend Porter, but I worked for the National Urban League as its policy chief for 2 years after working for then Senator Kamala Harris. And in those 2 years, we were hit with the twin pandemics of racial violence and voter suppression. You might even throw COVID in there. It was a tumultuous time and very formative, in my life. And so the things that I've been able to do at T-Mobile have really been focused on social justice. The theme of today's, the conference for the past few days has been bridging divides. My career at T-Mobile and all the years I've spent working in telecommunications policy has been trying to bridge that digital divide. What keeps our communities from not getting the fastest internet? What keeps us from not getting the ability to work from home? What keeps us from not being able to get access to a doctor using internet connections? And so it's not strange that I would end up in a job like this. Yeah.
Come on, clap your hands for that. And I'm glad that you are in a position such as this. One thing that we found out during COVID, during the pandemic, was how important broadband and being connected and connectivity is a more so now a critical need instead of a privilege, right? And options for those who are able to work it out. Like you said, it's vital for schooling, vital for workforce, especially then, and so on and so on. And so you are being left behind if you are not connected. And I know that T-Mobile, you are leading in that space and really providing wireless broadband to communities all across this nation. Can you tell us more about that work?
Sure. So when T-Mobile began its courtship with a cell phone company by the name of Sprint, you all may know Sprint. Some of you may have been subscribers to Sprint. But it was a bold ambition for the number 3 and number 4 wireless companies to get together. And during that process where we were trying to get the government to approve this merger, we said we're going to take $10 billion and we're going to set it aside as an investment to make sure that children who can't afford or for whom broadband connections might be difficult, we're going to give them a free broadband connection for 5 years. And we started giving kids after the merger these 5G, these advanced high-speed broadband pucks, I call them, just little hotspots that they can use and their families can use to keep them connected to the internet, which was during the pandemic, which was really critical. There was a study done by the Kansas City Library that during the pandemic, 55% of the public school children did not participate in learning. 55%. And that's because, and the demographics of Kansas City and the demographics of Sacramento are not that different. So you know who those kids were who weren't getting learning. So we are trying to make sure that broadband is available to everyone and that broadband is affordable to everyone. And we've also been making investments that people know how to use broadband. Yes, you can get Netflix. Yes, you can get TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But you can make a living off of a broadband connection. You can start a business. You can go to school. You can work. 1 out of every 5 African American households during the pandemic had jobs that allowed them to work remotely. We were mostly frontline workers in places where we didn't have the privilege of being able to work from home. Those numbers are changing. And the number of African Americans who are actually working from home, running businesses from home, there is no business after COVID that is not a technology business.
So true.
This great church had to make some quick moves during the pandemic to stay open, to make sure people are still hearing the word of God, to make sure that the financial stability of the church remains strong, whether that be PayPal, Venmo, ACH, Cash App, whatever.
We have them all.
These things were necessary and allowed the church and churches across the United States to remain strong and vibrant. And a lot of folks have not gone back. All that technology investment is still there, and it is still the way churches are reaching audiences and congregations in this country.
Yeah, I always say that during the pandemic, sanctuaries turned into studios, and if not, then you were really just out there, and then it stuck so well that if you're not still doing it, because there's some of my friends saying that, well, now that we're post-pandemic, we're not going to need that, but now they don't literally exist anymore because they're not online. And if you're not online in some form or fashion, you don't really exist, And so it's so true that everyone had to adapt. All forms of business, all communities had to adapt. And I think this was coming, but then the pandemic just accelerated that, right, in a big way. And so many people had to step up, like T-Mobile. And I am a part of your diversity council here in California, and a proud member. I think I was maybe part of the founding members.
Absolutely.
Of that. And the reason why we've been with you all, because of your commitment to bringing broadband access to marginalized communities. And so I want to applaud you for that. And we have some T-Mobile people in the room that's sitting right over here. Can we clap?
And fellow California council members
that's
as well,
right.
like Jen and Lanisha, and thank you for being here. When T-Mobile was, like I said, kind of the dog chasing the car, we understood something that a lot of companies have forgotten. The relationship between a customer and a company is one of privilege. T-Mobile doesn't want to be the kind of company that comes into a community and says, we're going to put up shops in your place, and we're going to sell stuff to you, and you're not going to see us unless it's in that store. We are a small company. We've got a government affairs team of about 60-some people, which is not a lot to cover the whole country. So what we try to do to increase our presence and to give back to the communities that have made us now the most valuable telecommunications company in the world, and knocking on the door of one of those companies whose name starts with V, on being the biggest cell phone company in the United States, that we want to give back and we want to invest. And the work that you're doing, Reverend Porter, is the kind of work that we want to invest in, and that we will continue to invest in as long as I'm here, and I hope after, because nothing is guaranteed. Your boy might be gone tomorrow, I don't know, but our investment is deep and endearing.
Right, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the partnership, and not only here, but then national, and you all are partnering with other social justice organizations across the nation. I know across California. Why is T-Mobile going that route in seeking out partnerships with, I guess, your non-technical, organizations?
Sure. Well, I mean, let's start, first from a business standpoint. These are good business partners to have, right? Are there any better groups to go to than folks who live their faith? There are lots of people who have small businesses in these communities, but it's also just who T-Mobile tries to be as an identity. We had a corporate responsibility report that we published in 22, and it was a very surprising statistic. 60% of the people who work for T-Mobile are people of color.
Wow.
60%. And you know it when you go into the stores. You know it if you go to a call center. Some of my friends here, we've gone to Kingsburg outside of Fresno, where we created a year or two ago a 1,000 person call center in a place that was pretty economically depressed.
Yeah.
And the people who work in those spaces look like the people in this room. They look like the people in California. You know, I'm blessed to be in a position as a senior executive in this company. I have access to the CEO of the company, to the people who report to him. I can talk to anybody in this company that I need to talk to, and they know the work that I do, and they prioritize listening, you know, to what we have to say. And what we have to say often relates to social justice, and why that is important, not only for our customers, but for our employees, and increasingly, the people who invest in T-Mobile, shareholders. They want to see that companies like us are being responsible, and they're checking our homework, making sure that we're making the best investments. You know, Reverend, you mentioned something about, you know, being in the national organization, you know, as well as here locally. Does everybody here know Reverend Porter is an actor, a movie actor? Does everybody know that? Anybody not know? Okay. Let me just tell you. So Reverend Sharpton invited me and a few hundred people to to an early showing of his documentary film Loudmouth. And I'm sitting, you know, at the Motion Picture Association built theater watching this film, big screen. I'm up close to the screen, and then, you know, as you do in movies, you kind of doze off a little bit, like, okay, yeah, I know this stuff about Reverend Sharpton. This is not new news. And then all of a sudden, bam, bigger than life, 12 feet tall, is your very own Reverend Porter on the screen.
I got about 3 minutes.
And I was startled.
Not 30 seconds.
I was startled. I was reaching for my phone. I said, I got to videotape this. I got to get a video of this. I got to get a video of this. And I might have broken some copyright laws, or some other international criminal laws. But we were very excited to see you on the screen. And maybe if there's a sequel, or, you know, maybe you have your own documentary. But you look good. You look good up there. You look like you belong. So I want to see more of that. You with me on this, Reverend Porter?
So after you told me that, you texted me that, you know, I was gonna just get the DVD or live stream stream it. But then my wife and I, we found the theater it was playing in, and we went to the matinee. I think it was just us two in there looking at it. And I was just waiting. I was sitting there holding my camera, just waiting for it to come up. I said, he said it's gonna come. He said it's gonna come. And it came. I was like, yes! I'm in the movies. So thank you. Please, Ashley, tell me you're the father. Thank you for that. Amen. That's good. We're supposed to be
talking. I understand, but you.
Yeah. So, outside of movies, what else can community leaders do to help bridge this gap, this digital divide that you all are doing?
So, as you know, I came from Washington, D.C., where I've lived for the past 35 years, seen a lot in politics. I've seen a lot in telecommunications policy. When I first started, when I moved from Louisiana to D.C., the cell phone had just begun to be sold. It was a flip phone, couldn't do much, couldn't even text with it at that time. So I've seen a lot happen in a very short time. But the thing that I had never seen in the progression of technology in this country is when the government said, we know that there are divides in this country. There are rural-urban divides. There are rich-poor, black-white, abled, disabled, cisgendered, and others. And so we're going to do something we have never done before to make broadband get to as many Americans as possible. We're going to take this infrastructure bill that we just passed, and we're going to put $43 billion, billion with a B,
Wow.
in it, and give it to the states so that they can close these divides that have been persisting now for many years. California is getting a heck of a lot of money to do that, and they're focused on areas that don't have real broadband today. So one of the things that I've seen in my life, and people say it's a generational benefit, I actually say it's a once-in-a-lifetime benefit, where broadband is coming to this state in a big way. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be here tomorrow. It doesn't mean that when it gets here, it's going to be affordable, but it is coming. And that offers an opportunity for the economy to follow on that investment. One of the biggest gating factors to the start of a business or the ability to do distance learning, even the ability to do things like remote surgery, right? Where you have a doctor in Los Angeles who, through a robot, is doing surgery with a patient, who might be in Sacramento.
Wow.
The only way that you can pull off those kinds of technological feats is with very fast broadband with extremely low latency. So we're going to see that in California in a big way, and I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I hope California gets it right, and I hope that when the technology gets here, it's affordable. T-Mobile is not relying on that as the solution for everybody. We are not participating in that particular program. We have decided through private investment that we can accomplish what a lot of other of our competitors have been unwilling to do over the past few years, and that is upgrade their networks so that its customers can have the best and the fastest service. So, but I am excited about it, and I think it's a great example of how government can be a help and not a hindrance.
Well, I'm excited about the future. I mean, we know that the future is networked, is connected, right? And that's what we're leading in. We're excited that we are in partnership with you and T-Mobile, a company who is seeing the need to make sure that all people are connected and that you are doing efforts to bridge the divide. I want to thank you for being a partner to this organization and a good friend of mine. I appreciate you. Can we just put our hands together for none other than Clint Odom,
Thank you.
T-Mobile Vice President for Strategic Alliance and External Affairs. And the next,
Say it fast, 4 times.
I know, right? Excuse me.
We'll see if you can do
And maybe the next, movie person. I don't know. Gets a cameo. I heard you in something.
I would think Jeffrey Wright might play me in
Yeah.
a movie, right? I would love to have done American Fiction, but apparently they had someone cast for the role already.
Well, we'll go ahead and do a protest on that or something like that. All right, put your hands together again for Clint Odom.